Angie Machado on here um, and talk a little Oregon State football with the publisher and chief potentate of the of Beaver Blitz on the 247 network. Angie joins us now. I mean, like it's breakfast time for Angie. Happy breakfast time on Tuesday morning.
Hey, thank you. I've got my coffee in hand.
And I'm still drinking coffee here because we drink coffee in this part of the country. If it's Mike Gundy, he drinks coffee all day long because he likes to stay wired. All right, let's talk a little bit about this. Angie, you were at the news conference yesterday. You've seen Jonathan Smith in his first year, and this is year two. He seems very relaxed. He seems like he truly does feel pretty good about his football team in the second year. I think he would have liked to have kept the injury segment just a little bit shorter. That was probably a longer than he wanted to talk about injuries. But your thoughts on his demeanor yesterday, and can you read anything into the body language and the way he talked?
Yeah, Coach Smith actually does. I mean, all the coaches that we've spoken to all fall camp have kind of a quiet confidence about them and what they have returning, the newcomers coming in, and this is a team. When he took over a year, 18 months ago, this is a team that was completely broken. They had Gary Anderson was the head coach. He left, quit on the team midseason. They had a interim head coach for a few months to finish the year. I mean, this was a team that the players were in disarray. And so first thing he had to do last season was change the culture and instill a culture. And for his first job as a head coach, they took some lumps. And, is depth completely where he wants it? Not yet. But this is a team that's made some big, big strides in the past, 18 months.
All summer long, kind of studying Oregon State and what they were at the end of last year, and I try and find two games that I think, where the opponent looks somewhat like Oklahoma State in scheme and maybe talent level as well. So I just took the Oregon and Washington games, studied both sides of the ball. You look at this team offensively. This is a pretty decent offensive football team. I mean, if they had a defense as good as their offense, they'd be a bowl team. No doubt in my mind on that. You agree with that?
Oh, completely. The offense really is potent. They can run. They have now a 6-year quarterback back as the starter. Great receiving core. So yeah, but the defense was second to last in the country last year. So they couldn't stop anybody.
All right, let's stay with the offense and kind of finish up with them. Obviously, they want to run the football and who wouldn't with Jameer Jefferson, and then you look at the depth at running back. I mean, B.J. Baylor, Artavis Pierce. I think is it Calvin Tyler? Am I right
Calvin
on that?
Tyler, yeah, he's back from an
Calvin
ACL.
Tyler is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's four pretty good backs, and obviously Jefferson showed last year he's stellar with his 1,380 yards and Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. I think they also reading the things that you and other media there write. I think they feel pretty good about the offensive line. And I did notice. I mean, he mentioned the emphasis on trying to curtail the sacks that got him in really bad situations last year on third down. But, they've got some veteran offensive linemen, some guys that have got 30-plus, 25 starts. So they've got experience there. And an offensive line coach that I think they believe in. Do you think the game plan is, okay, let's get out there, let's run the ball, control the game as much as we can, running the football, and not only have success with that, but play keep away from that Oklahoma State offense? I didn't hear anything from Coach Smith about that in the news conference, but if I was the coach, Angie, that's what I'd do.
Yeah, completely. But you kind of do that, and then Oregon State has some huge weapons at receiver too. So kind of lull them possibly with the run game, and then take your shot downfield. Jake Luton has a huge arm. And has a pretty good chemistry now with Isaiah Hodgins, the kind of the returning star wide receiver. But they also have Tyjon Lindsey, who transferred in from Nebraska. Great multi-talented. He can run, he can catch, he can block out. And then Noah Togiai, a tight end, is one that Oklahoma State fans will want to keep an eye on because, again, a very talented tight end that could, if Oklahoma State gets caught sleeping looking for the run game, Oregon State can attack over the top.
Okay, fair enough there. Now let's go over that defensive side of the ball, and I know there's a lot of transfers. Heck, there's even one that came from by way of the University of Oklahoma. He's originally from California, and that's Gums. Those guys have all emerged. It took them a while during fall camp, though they weren't handed positions, but in particular, Gums and Avery Roberts were the two that you were hearing the most about. The JUCO, Jordan Whitley, is an oar, and I can imagine what they're going to do when he's in. They're going to go more to that four-man look, probably bring Gums down to the line of scrimmage and use him as an edge guy and give you that four front look. But how much better? I mean, it had a long way to go. How much better is this defense?
The front seven looks, from watching fall camp, looks a lot better. And they put pressure on Oregon State's offense, which they didn't do last fall camp. So, Gums he will be a guy that you will see at the line of scrimmage. He's great in rusher. And then Avery Roberts, it's just about gap containment, too. I mean, we've seen so much last year, linebackers not sticking with their assignments and getting guys in the secondary. It was horrible. I can't even, tell you how bad the defense was last year. So this year we're actually seeing some pressure on the quarterback in fall camp, which, like I said, we didn't see. We saw some takeaways. The front seven, to me, looks a lot better. It's the secondary that still scares me a little bit with Oregon State. Injuries and youth have, kind of been emerging there, and that, to me, is probably the biggest question mark on the entire team.
All right, and he mentioned. Well, let me ask you this before we get to that. I was gonna get back to the secondary, which you were talking about, and talk a little bit about, because I think injuries are playing a little havoc with the back end of the defense. But let's stick with the front end. Obviously, you mentioned Gums, and it looks like, they may be geared to get a little more pressure on quarterbacks. But the number that, as bad as the scoring defense number was, the number that caught my attention was giving up an average of 285 yards on the ground a game. You gotta be much better. I mean, much better on the run defense, and that's something Oklahoma State, has been building back towards. I mean, they've been a true spread type attack. That's James Washington's with the Steelers, and Tylan Wallace is an All-American and a Biletnikoff finalist coming off last year. But Oklahoma State's heritage is running the football, and Mike Gundy wants to run the football and wants to be able to run it when the other team knows he's going to run it. And that hadn't happened in a while, but it looks like it might be closer to that this year. What about Oregon State? I mean, if you were going to guess, and the number was 285 a game last year, where will that rushing defense average be this season?
Well, that has been the huge focus this entire offseason. From the last football game last year, that has been this defense's complete and utter focus is getting that run defense shored up. It has to, they have to improve. They have to drop that number 100 yards a game, 150 yards a game, honestly. Will that happen? That might be a huge step, and I think injuries are going to play a huge role in that. Oregon State lost a defensive end, first week of camp, that Jeremy Reichner went down with an ACL. So
right.
There's lots of question marks, I think, heading in, and we've seen what they've done against Oregon State's offense, which has been significantly better. They've stuffed Jamar Jefferson, a freshman All-American. They stuffed him, during the scrimmages we've seen. That being said, against a team like Oklahoma State, they won't be able to afford to, let a play off and give up a big home run ball. So the front seven is much improved. We see a ton of, you see that depth chart, and that front seven will seriously be rotating every play. That you will see movement in that front seven and different guys coming in and out. Lots of movement, lots of blitz packages we're seeing. So that'll change up some things, but will they? I mean, that is like my biggest question heading into the season is, can they improve that rush defense enough to make a significant difference?
Angie Machado or Machado. There's several ways to pronounce your last name,
There is.
right?
It's Machado. It's the
But
Portuguese
you say
pronunciation,
Machado, right?
Machado. Yes, Machado.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. No, I've been consistent until I just messed up there. All right. Anyway, she's from Beaver Blitz, publisher and editor, and she does a whole lot of things with Beaver Blitz and has for a long time, very successfully. All right, Angie. Here's one that I couldn't wait to ask. A lot of the media that covers Oklahoma State football and Mike Gundy, they've seen 3 practices in fall camp for the first 20 minutes, which is stretch and individual drills, and then after that they're ushered out. Now, fortunately, Mike Gundy's pretty nice to the radio crew. We get to stay at practice, but we just got to keep our mouths shut. Um, Jonathan Smith is like, I mean, it's like it's like the wall came down, the Berlin Wall came down. I mean, you guys are there for practices, scrimmages, and they talk to you after every practice. I mean, that's that's a lot of work because you got to be there, but it's wide open.
It's not any longer. So we did get the first.
Right, I know that.
Yeah, so the first 3 weeks of fall camp, we did get to watch the whole thing. It's fall camp's my favorite time of year, so I love that stuff. But now it's kind of back to like everyone else. So it is different, though. We back when Coach Riley was at the helm, we seriously the media, we could walk around, take photos, video, the whole works the whole time. Coaches would come over, talk to you halfway through practice just to chit chat and see how your family was. So that's different. We have a certain area we're at. We can only shoot the first 20 minutes, those kind of things. But no, I mean, we got to see quite a bit of fall camp, and I'm grateful for that. We got to see a lot of the stuff going on, and now it's behind lock and key, though. So we're relying on what we're hearing from sources and what we're gleaning from some of these interviews.
It's always interesting at the beginning of the year with fans. Oklahoma State's developed a consistency with Mike Gundy, but there's people out there that you get fans here. Some of them, not all of them, some of them remember the lean times and are grateful for going to bowl games 13 years in a row. Mainly younger fans are like, hey, when are you going to beat OU? When are you going to win another conference championship? I mean, they're a little more demanding. Players are always going to demand of themselves, and so are coaches. But it's kind of funny going into this after a 7-6 season last year. I've heard some fans who are completely confident that Oklahoma State's going to fly out to Corvallis and tie the Beavers in a bow and leave them at the 50-yard line and say good luck with the rest of your year. Yet others are like, "Whoa, these Beavers sound a lot better," and man, this could be a scary game. So the fans here, you kind of run the gamut. What are the fans like in Corvallis?
There's a lot of uncertainty. I mean, Beaver fans are, we had that run. Oregon State had a run of from 2000 to 2015 that bowl games were kind of the norm, and it's been lean years now for the past 5 years. So. Some fans are kind of like, well, I'll believe it when I see it. And then you do have the fans that are saying, hey, we could catch this team sleeping, that Oklahoma State is going to come out here and look at a 2-10, not necessarily the coaches, but players could be looking at that 2-10 record and, almost 300 yards of rushes or rushing yards given up, and kind of just take it for granted that it's going to be an easy cakewalk. And, talking to the players, which you always talk to the players, and they basically, oh, we're going to surprise them, and we're ready to surprise them people. But I don't think this is necessarily is going to be as easy as Oklahoma State fans think it could be. But I'm not necessarily ready to say it's, Oregon State is going to walk away with it either.
Okay, so you're not calling the upset alert
yet,
this
is
but
a game that
you're calling
I really,
a better team.
It's a better team. I don't know what we're going to see. That first game is always it's a crapshoot. You don't know what you're going to get. So I have not come out with my prediction. I am really on the fence with this one. Oregon State travels to Hawaii next week, and that one I'm actually pretty confident that Hawaii could upset Oregon State in that game. Just traveling to Hawaii is always a tough one. Home crowd, kind of home cooking over there with some of the things that can go on over there. But Oklahoma State, I don't know. I think Oregon State could be primed and ready to make a statement there. And Beaver fans at this point, I think, would be happy if Oregon State could keep it close. If it's not, I mean, if they'd be ecstatic with a win, but if they could keep it within a touchdown or two, I think you'll see Oregon State fans thinking, okay, maybe this team is better than we thought. But I think there's some serious questions in Corvallis about how good the Cowboy defense is. Obviously the offense is really strong, and I think a lot of people out here are expecting it could be a big shootout.
You know what? There's people here curious about how the defense is, and you're talking to one of them. So,
yeah, no, I mean, I think we're both in the same position in some ways. I mean, you guys are coming off better year, but there's some questions with the Cowboy defense. So I think the offense is kind of the strength. It is the strength for both of these teams. And, there's people that think that this could be, over under of 80 points. So, which could make for a fun game.
I'm thinking. I tell you what, we're not allowed. It's in our contract with the radio network. We can't wager. And I wouldn't
I don't bet
but
either.
but I would say if it, and I don't even know. I don't even look. I don't even know what the over and under is. I happen to know what the line was because it's been publicized so much. But if the over and under were 70, I would say I would advise my best friends you might want to go over that. That might be.
What is the line right now? I haven't even seen the current line.
I think it opened at 16. I don't know what it is right now.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah.
I got the paper this morning, so I'll look here.
I'm not a bettor either, so I don't know. But no, I think it could be a big. I think that's the big question is kind of what the defenses for both teams will look like.
Yeah, it's you know what? It's down 14.5. There's some people out there that like the Beavs. I do have an important question, and I haven't asked this. Pac-12 or Big 12 officials?
I haven't heard. You know what? I don't know.
Yeah.
I would think it would be Big 12, and then when Oregon State comes out next year to Stillwater, it would be Pac-12. That's kind of how they've done it in the past.
That's generally the way Oklahoma State's contracts have gone, but
and that's kind of how Oregon State's have gone too.
Yeah, since a certain game a few years back with Central Michigan that got a lot of attention here in Stillwater. Mike Gundy is, he's protested, and we've had neutral conference officials on some non-conference games because the head coach doesn't want officials from that other league, and nothing personal, but the Pac-12's got some PR stuff to overcome a little bit with their officiating. So,
we're in the Pac-12, and I think a lot of fans would rather have neutral officials most of the time. So,
yeah, that's Coach
that's the nature of the beast, though, right?
Yeah, he doesn't. I think he's okay with his own Big 12 officials, but yeah, he's a little leery of officials from other conferences. And you know what? I'm one of those people who believe they need to go to a national officiating and regional and forget the conference. Because every time you hear, well, it's Big 12 officials, people are like, oh, yeah, they're going to favor their. I think we should get out of that. All right, that's a whole nother subject. But, Angie, I do appreciate your time and look forward to meeting up with you out in Corvallis on Friday. And I have never been to Oregon, so I'm kind of fired up for this one. And
well, you're coming out for great weather. It's going to be great out here, and have a safe trip, and I'll see you on a Friday.
All right. Thanks, Angie.
Talk to you soon.